we've always thought the milestones are important. So, groundbreaking, start of a relationship with the Dodgers, opening day. We celebrated our 1 millionth fan. We celebrated our 5-year anniversary, our 2 millionth fan, and now our 10-year anniversary.
As we were approaching the 10th season for the Loons, we felt like it was an appropriate time to really revisit our brand. When we did the startup process in 2006, we were under time constraints. We built the stadium in 364 days. We were assembling a staff, training that staff, and prepping them for the season. When we built the initial brand and the logo and identity for the Loons, we did that over a period of 4 to 6 weeks.
So there were always, even from the beginning, there were some things about the logo that we, maybe didn't quite love, but it really served us well for 10 years. And what we asked for was kind of an evolution. Let's keep what we love about our logo, but let's have it evolve a little bit more into a more distinctive look and feel and something that represents all that we are as a franchise.
We began a process in April of 2015 with a group called Brandios. They really specialize in developing brands and identities for minor league and Major League Baseball teams. They came to Midland for a few days doing some focus groups with our staff as well as with our fans, and then spent some time out in the community in Midland, Bay City, and Saginaw, really trying to find out what was unique about those communities and how they connect with the Loons. From that process, they went back to the drawing board, began a sketch process of what this new identity would look like. The color palette stayed the same. Louis Loon stayed the same. I argue he's the most recognizable asset or brand ambassador that the Loons have. You could ask anyone who I am or who Paul Barbeau is or Scott Lytle. They may or may not know, but everyone knows who Louis Loon was. So for us, it was really just strengthening what we already had, and we were really pleased with the outcome. I think you look at our new home uniforms. I think they're terrific, very classic. Still a nod to what we originally had, and overall, we were very pleased with the result.
Well, going into the 2016 season, there was a lot of buzz about the Dodgers farm system as a whole, in part because they had some highly regarded prospects. But if you looked at where the top prospects in the Dodgers farm system were concentrated going into that season, it was pretty much at the top of the minor league ladder. You had Corey Seager, who had just graduated into the major league ranks. You had Julio Urias, who was going to start the season at AAA. Jose De Leon, who was in the upper levels of the minor league system as well. And so there were questions among the Loons front office members and those deep followers of the Dodgers farm system. What would the low A team look like? Where was the talent going to lie at the lower levels?
So the first half of the season was tough. Going into the season, this wasn't a roster that was full of prospects, and we kind of knew the expectation was that they weren't going to be a team that was going to contend for a championship at this level just based on the youth on the roster. And
youth doesn't always translate to success in the Midwest League. It's a low A league, and it's the first full season league in the minor league ladder. So it's guys that are playing 140 games in many cases for the first time in their career. And in a case like Brendan or Omar, these are guys that have essentially just graduated high school and are living on their own for the first time in their lives and are far away from home. In the case of Brendan, he was from California. Omar is from Cuba. So you don't always know if the environment is going to allow guys with a lot of talent to realize that talent at such a young age when there's so much going on around them.
Yeah, there were multiple times in the season where you hated saying it, but could this be the worst team in franchise history? And I'd only been with the team for 2 seasons, but you kind of look back at the history books and you realize that this team was the worst hitting team in all of minor league baseball for a good 2 months. They were the most strikeout-prone team in all of minor league baseball for 2 months. Their record, justified the fact that they were striking out a lot, not hitting, not scoring runs, and But you still kind of had in the back of your mind that there was good talent on this team and they might be able to turn it around if the young players could come on. But you just almost felt bad every day looking up whether or not they had been hitting over 200 as a team now, or had brought themselves out of the basement as the lowest batting average team in the country or the most strikeout-prone team in the country. So that was a little sad and a little tiring, but they got through it, obviously.
I remember going into that game on August 11th. It was the day after an off day. The Lake County Captains were in town. It was the start of a 4-game homestand. And you got the sense not that the Loons were in desperation mode, but they had one last chance to really bring everything together and mount a run to qualify for the playoffs. They were 4.5 games out of the wild card at that point. I remember Gil Velasquez, the manager, just addressing the team going into that homestand, going into that series, saying, look, this is probably our last chance to show the league what we're made of. We've been talking all year that we know we have the talent to be able to win games in this league. Our record might not show that, but this is the last chance to really finish strong, not even make the playoffs and go on a fantasy run to win a Midwest League championship, but just end the season in the way that we want to, on a positive note. And sure enough, the game starts, and they're flat as a pancake.
The pitch. A slow roller up the first base line in the grass. It's picked up by Vietes, and he ends up rolling it over the foul line, and in to score comes De La Cruz. It's 10-4 Lake County, as Vietes never had that one in his glove. He ended up pushing the ball away from him across the foul line behind first base.
At the time, I can't remember if we were down by 8 or 9 runs at the time. It was a little earlier in the game, and I thought, wow, this is a bad game. This is a very bad game.
Standing on the concourse behind home plate, down 6 runs, 2 outs. We're basically waiting for the game to end to say bye to the fans and start wrapping up that night.
Lake County's bullpen suddenly lost command of the strike zone, and a Loons team all year that had struggled to take pitches and be patient at the plate, they suddenly found some patience in the bottom of the 9th inning against Lake County.
A couple walks in a row when we score a run, and okay, you don't get too excited.
At that point, there's 100% a buzz in the stadium. Even though there are 2 outs and you're still down by 5 runs, there was definitely the feeling, hey, the Loons can get back in this game.
But the Loons have the bases loaded. 1-1. A fly ball out to left field. Ison is back. It's a grand slam. Are you kidding me? It's a 1-run game.
And that's when Estevez hit the grand slam, and I thought, oh, wow, we could come back.
But then you still look up at the board, and we're down 1 with 2 outs in the 9th and going, okay, this is still a long shot for us to have a chance to win this game.
Then it began to feel, well, how can they come all this way and not come back? And you hadn't even begun to digest the euphoria of seeing a grand slam in any circumstance, let alone in the bottom of the 9th inning to make it a 1-run game, when Luke Raley steps up.
2 outs, the pitch. A fly ball hit out to left field. Ison is back. He's at the track. We're tied at 10. A home run for Luke Raley. And the Loons are going nuts.
Raley hits another home run, and at that point, we were all jumping around behind home plate, just like the fans were and the team were. There was probably 4 or 5 of us employees right there, and I mean, it was just something that you never see. 6 runs with 2 outs.
It was almost tough to be on air because you couldn't, show the excitement that you wanted to, or you couldn't express the excitement that you wanted to, sitting there watching and just being in awe of what he and Estevez had just done, and at that point you knew they were going to win.
Yeah, I was very upset I missed it. So I do miss games occasionally, either for other work commitments or family commitments or things. And what I was waiting for was the game to be over so I could check the attendance, because the attendance pops up in the box score, and I always like to see, hey, how do we do? Did we meet our projection or not? So that's really what I was waiting for. And I kept refreshing, and I'm like, what's going on? This game isn't ending.
And one of the best things was seeing Luke Raley go around the bases absolutely amped at the home run that he hit, and how sharing in that enthusiasm every step of the way was everyone in the Loons dugout, who poured out of the dugout almost as if they had hit the walk-off hit.
So yeah, all the momentum in the Loons' favor, like going into extra innings, and especially in front of a good home crowd that night. They kind of knew what was on the line in terms of being close to a playoff berth at that point and still trying to scrap their way 2-1 towards the end of the season. So in the 10th inning, still with the momentum, Darian Tubbs came up and hit that walk-off up the middle. And
0-1. Breaking ball is shot through the hole and into center field, a base hit. Garrett Hope waved around. The throw from Carter in center. It gets away from Cervenka. Hope is safe, and the comeback is complete. Loons win 11-10.
we're starting the postgame show tonight outside the Loons clubhouse. We're joined by the hero, Darian Tubbs. So back-to-back home runs. Omar gets the grand slam, and then on the second pitch of the plate appearance to Raley, he goes yard 2 again to left field. What's the excitement level in the dugout there? The highest of the season?
Oh, for sure. Since I've been here, I'm not really sure, but since for the first half, but since I've been here, yeah, that was huge. It was kind of dead that whole inning, because we were down 5 or 6 runs, I think. So whenever Luke tied it up right there, that just livened it up, and it was a new team right there.
Tubbs was a guy that the Loons added from the draft by the Dodgers earlier on in the season, who was a really exciting player when he came on. He could do a lot on the bases, and to see him get that hit, along with another guy that was drafted by Luke Raley in the 9th inning and that home run by Estevez, it was the most fun night that I had in the last 2 seasons here with the Loons, and to that point, it was the most exciting the most excitement that I've had at the ballpark.
From everyone that was here, said it was one of the most electric games and memories in 10 years of Loons baseball. So I missed that, but I'm glad we won it, and didn't really know that would set us off on a pretty good run.
Looking back on it, that was really when the switch was flipped and when the 18-8 run to close out the regular season began, and when this team, I don't necessarily think, started to believe in themselves. I think, again, they knew that they were a talented bunch, or at least had potential beyond what their win-loss record indicated at the time. But from then on, it was like, all right, hey, we can come back from 10-4 with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. There's no game we can't at least have a good chance to win.